All righty. It is time to start, everyone. Thanks for attending our live lecture this morning. My name is Isaac. I'll be the lead instructor for this lecture. And today's topic is going to be deployment in JavaScript. Okay, so a few things to mention before we get started is even though this is a live lecture, we're not actually going to be taking any questions during the lecture. So I just ask that if you have any questions that come up along the way, just go ahead and write those down, and you can email or send me a Slack message afterwards, and I'll be happy to follow up with you then. But we got a lot of material to cover, so we want to make sure we get all through it. And another thing to mention is we're going to be recording this lecture. So you can always go back and review it at a later time if maybe you just need to go slower or review a specific detail of the lecture. So to get started, let's go ahead and let's set up the database, which we're going to be using. And then we are going to host some of our code on an Azure cloud, which is going to allow us to access our application at a live web address. So to get started, let's go ahead and let's log into MLab. If you don't have MLab, go ahead and go there and sign up. It's completely free. And then once you log in, this is the default screen it's going to bring us to. We've got a couple different options. We can create a regular deployment or private. But for this lecture, we're just going to do a regular. So let's go ahead and create new. And then from here, let's go ahead and let's choose Azure as our provider here. And then we're going to choose Sandbox as the plan. And as you can see, because it's free. Okay, so next, let's go ahead and continue. Next, we need to search or get our region, which I'm on the West Coast myself, so this is pretty easy. I'm just going to choose the West Coast. But make sure you choose the region that's closest to you for best performance. And then let's go ahead and give the database a name. So I'm going to go ahead and call this MIC Pro. And then we'll go ahead and we will review it. Everything looks good here. So let's submit this, and they'll create that for us in the Azure cloud. Okay, that's just going to take a minute there. So while that is being created, let's go ahead and head over to CoderCamp's GitHub, and then you're going to go to the JS Deploy Kit repository. And we're going to use this repository just as a basic launch point today to get an idea of how we can build our application for production and launch it and deploy it at a live web address. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to come to this repository, and then let's go ahead and fork it. Okay, so we're just going to say fork, and I'm just going to choose my account. It'll take a few seconds to do that. And yeah, so as you can see now, it is actually switched from CoderCamps to my GitHub account, and now I have my own copy of this specific project. So now we've forked that. Next thing to do is let's go ahead and clone it onto our desktop. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say clone. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to open up our terminal here. And I'm going to change directories onto my desktop first, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run git clone, and then we'll paste in the address and hit enter. As you can see, it automatically generates it on our desktop. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change into my JS Deploy Kit. Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and let's go back to our database. Now this is created. we just need to do one extra step, and we need to create a database user for authentication purposes. So let's go ahead and go to users here, and I'm going to add a database user. And the database username, I'm going to go ahead, I'll just put Isaac. The password, we'll do 123. We'll make it real simple. And then we'll hit create. And just like that, we have a database user ready to go. So now we can use this string right here to connect to this specific database instance. Okay. So now we've got our database set up. Let's go ahead and let's come back to our project here. And now we've changed directories into the JS deploy kit. Let's go ahead and run npm start, or I'm sorry, npm install to reference our package.json file and install all the dependencies needed for this project. So I'm going to run an npm install. Okay. And it's going to take a minute to, get everything we need going there. And then once that's done, we just need to connect to our database. So like I mentioned a minute ago, we're just going to take that string in MLab, and we're going to paste it into our connection code. And then when we run our server, it's going to read that string, and it's going to reference that database whenever we host it. So as you can see, it's just going to take a minute here to get all these packages downloaded. It's quite heavy because we've got a bundler Webpack, so that adds a lot to our project. We'll go over all those aspects of a bundler here in a minute. But as you can see, there's definitely a little longer of a latency when it comes to installing more and more source code. But as you can see, it's almost done here. So once it is, we'll go ahead and open it up into Atom. I can hear the Jeopardy music going right now. Bear with me, folks. I swear my computer's not slow, or my connection. This is actually this is actually fairly fast speed. So for those of you with a slower connection, I'm sorry, but it's gonna be quite a while. All right, finally. So now we have all of our packages and dependencies brought in. Let's go ahead and let's open this up in our text editor. Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and let's open up our build scripts, and let's go to our dist server. And as you can see down here on line 25, we have this database connect method running, okay? And as you notice, it's referencing a database string. However, this database string is a placeholder. It doesn't belong to our database. So we need to replace it with our own. So I'm going to come to MLab, and I'm just going to copy this connection endpoint right here. And I'm going to paste it to the right side of the @ symbol. Okay, and now to the left side, I need to go ahead and I need to paste in, or enter in first my database username, colon, and then I'm going to enter the database password, which in my case was 123. Okay, so now it's going to reference our database when the server is started. Okay, so now we've done that, let's go ahead and let's go to our build process, and let's go ahead and build this project and bundle it. And then from there, we'll go ahead and go over all the processes behind Webpack and what's happening in the background. So from here, we're going to go ahead and run npm run build -s. Okay. Now, as you can see, it generated a production folder for us with all of our production scripts. As you can see, it says your server has been built for production and written to the root. So a lot of magic happened right now, and not to worry, we'll kind of go over exactly what's happening. But now the important thing to note is we are ready to run this. Okay, so we can actually run this for development uh, and work on it as needed, and then deploy it for production. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and run npm run start -s. Okay, as you can see, it successfully deployed to port 3000. So if we go to localhost 3000, we can see that it has the code deploying, and everything's running smoothly. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and let's break down Webpack and the bundling and everything that's happening in the background. We run these scripts, npm build, npm start, and connect the dots, so to speak. Okay, so to start, let's go ahead and let's open up our webpack config.projects. Okay, and from here, let's go ahead and let's go over the different aspects of Webpack. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's a bundler. So anytime we're using a new technology, we should always reference the documentation if we want to get a feel for how to use it. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to Webpack, and they have their bundler here, and explains pretty much everything it does, and gives you nice source code right here, and documentation. So feel free to come here anytime you are messing with the configuration of Webpack, and it'll tell you just everything you need to know. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about the first part of Webpack, which is our loaders. Okay, so if we scroll down and we look at line 74 here, we got loaders in this array. Okay, and what these loaders listed here do is a process called transpiling. Okay, and transpiling is just the process of taking one source code in a certain programming language and transpiling it to another one with a similar layer of abstraction. Okay, so the example here, you can see ES 2015 is anytime we are using a browser where the code is not compatible with the latest release and version of ECMAScript, it will perform a polyfill, and it will fall back to a function or feature that is supported. So in this way, our application then becomes compatible with all browsers. So we can then use our ECMA 2015 ES6 code as wanted, and not have to worry about the compatibility issues. So that's our transpiler. Let's go ahead and let's talk about minification. Okay, so if we go here, we look at line 38, we have this plugin called the HTML Webpack plugin. And what this does is this performs minification on our files. Okay, and minification is just the process of removing all the white spaces, all the unneeded attributes, and shortening URLs, and basically making our code compressed and more performant. Okay, so this is what it's doing under the hood. Is it's taking our code, and instead of making all these nice spaces as we see here, it's just going to put it into one single long line, which to us is unreadable, but to the machine, the program, it makes sense. Okay, so this minification process is going to make our code faster. Next, let's go ahead and talk about a configuration up here in our dev tool called source mapping. Okay, so source mapping is the process of taking code that has been, maybe minified, uglified, or manipulated in some way, and mapping it back to its original state for debugging. So let's go ahead and explore what this looks like in the browser. Okay, so if we open up our browser tool here and we go to sources, we can see if we go to our index that it is just one long file or one long piece of code, right? So unlike we're used to seeing when we inspect the source code, it normally just shows us what's in our actual file, spacing and everything. But as we can see, because we're using Webpack to minify our code, it is now just showing us this one line. So as you can imagine, with our scripts, right, our engineering, our logic of our application, we want to be able to debug that in the browser. So this is where source maps comes into play, and source maps will actually do that for our scripts and revert them back to the original state so we can read them from here. So let's go ahead, and if we look at the app.js file, for example, you'll see that it is actually in the normal format we're used to seeing as everyday coders. Nice spacing, tabs, and that kind of thing. So obviously, if this was all one line of code, it would be very unreadable and very hard to debug. So this is why source maps are useful in this bundler, is because we want to be able to perform that debugging as needed. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's touch on the subject of task runners. Okay. So task runners is simply the concept of just that, a compilation of tasks which we configure to run on a certain command, which inevitably will save us time during the build process, because unlike traditional development where you're just building and running it, we're going to be performing a lot more processes, and we're going to be running tests and all this other stuff. And because it's going to take so many commands, what we want to do is we want to compress those down into a single command, which we can run, and in turn will run a series of several other commands. Okay, so this is the advantage of task runners. So where we can see example of task runners in this application is if we look in our package.json file, we can see that we have all these scripts, okay? All these different scripts run and perform different executable actions. And a lot of them coincide like dominoes. So they happen one after other in a chain event. So what we've done is we've set up this project to where when we run the build command, it's actually going to run all the necessary following commands for us, so we don't have to go and type in 20 different commands every time we're going to build our project. Okay, so next let's go ahead and let's perform a build and see this in action. Okay, so let's go ahead and save everything, and then we'll go ahead and we will run npm run build. Okay. And as you can see here, same process. It's generating our bundle from production. Everything looks like went through successfully. So now we're ready to get this hosted in Azure. Okay, and there's many other cloud services you can use for hosting, Amazon Web Services, Heroku, several others, but we're going to just focus on using Azure, as it's a very popular, very dependable service, and it's actually fairly useful for other things as well as hosting. So if you like other kind of microservices inside of your application, Azure's definitely a great platform to go with. So let's go ahead and head over to Microsoft Azure. And if you don't already have one, you're going to need to get an account. So sign up for free. And then you're going to log into your portal. Okay. So we'll go to the Azure portal here. And once you log into your portal, what we need to do is we need to create a new resource group, okay? And as you can see, we've got some free credit when we first sign up. So I'm going to go to resource groups, and let's go ahead and create a new resource group. And let's go ahead and we'll call it MIC group. And we'll do the free trial, and West US is a good location. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll create that resource group. Okay. Next, now we've created that, let's go ahead and let's use the Azure command line tool to create the web app. Okay. So if you don't have the Azure CLI or command line interface, what you can do is you can simply type in npm install -g Azure CLI. Okay, and you can tell with this -g flag, you can install it globally on your machine, so you don't have to install it again. But because I already have it on my machine, I'm not actually going to run this. So just be aware that if you don't have it, you're going to need to install it first. Okay, so once that's been installed, the next step is to log into Azure. Okay, so we'll say Azure login. Okay, so from here, it's going to give us a random code, and it's going to tell us to go to this web address and enter the code. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll just copy this address like so, and we'll go to our web browser and paste it in. And now we just need to enter our code. So we can take the code here, and let's go ahead and paste it in. And as you can see, everything was authenticated, and so we're good to go. It says you may now close this window. So from here, we can notice even in the command line, it knows that we're logged in and we're authenticated now. We can start executing commands with this tool. Okay, so there's a couple different modes you should be aware of when using the Azure CLI. Okay, and the first mode is called Azure Resource Management, which is normally referred to as ARM. And then there's another mode called Azure Services Management. Okay, it's normally referred to as ASM. So the reason there's a couple different versionings is ASM is the older version. Okay, so ARM is the newer, improved version, and typically is going to be the one you're using more. So let's go ahead and let's explore how we can access each version or mode of the Azure CLI. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's just say Azure config mode ARM. Okay, so as you can see, it lets me know, hey, your new mode is in Azure Resource Management. So from here, I can list all the different commands and capabilities when I'm in this mode by running Azure-H. Okay, so if you're ever wondering how a specific command, go ahead and type in H, and it'll go ahead and give you all the different options here. So now let's go ahead and let's switch into Azure Services Management in case you ever need to use that specific mode. Okay, so we'll say Azure config and then mode ASM. Okay, so now you can see new mode is in ASM. So now you'll notice if when I type in Azure H, the series of commands and endpoints it gives me are actually a bit different. Some of these are actually deprecated. Like I said, it's a little older. But that's how you can access each of these different modes by simply using that config command. All right, so next, let's go ahead and let's set our app up for deployment by creating an app service, okay? So to do this, we need to be in ARM mode. So let's go ahead and say Azure config mode ARM. Okay, so now we're in ARM mode. Let's go ahead and go to Azure, and in our plus symbol here, let's go ahead and search for app services, and we're going to create a new app service plan. Okay, so now we need to enter the name of the plan. So let's just go ahead and call this CC Node MIC. Okay, the subscription will be a free trial. We created a resource group, so let's use existing, the MIC group. Operating system is actually going to stay Windows. Even if you're on a Mac, weirdly enough, you'll notice I'm on a Mac, but the only other option is Linux, and that won't work. So go ahead and select Windows, and then for location, this really doesn't coincide with the closest location to me, so I'm going to change this to West US. Okay, and then I want to change this pricing tier from standard. I want to switch it to the free tier. Okay, we'll go ahead and select that. And from here, we can go ahead and we can create this new app service plan. And really, all this is for Azure, every web app that's created will be placed in a single app service dedicated to the application. So really, it's just a way of modular setup with your applications. If you have several different applications, they're nice and organized on Azure in different app services. Okay, next, let's go ahead and let's go to our Azure command line, and let's create a web app. Now we have the specific service and group and region to target. Okay, so how we're going to do this is we're going to say Azure web app create. Then I'm going to throw my resource group in, which is the MIC group. Let's go ahead and throw in CC MIC, and then we'll go ahead and throw in our region, which is West US, and then we will throw in CC Node MIC. Whew, that's a handful. Okay, so let's review this just to make sure we understand it. So this is our initial command to create. We're targeting this resource, okay? And then we're targeting this region and using this app service. So from here, I believe that should do it. Yes, so let's go ahead and run that command. Okay, so missing argument plan. Okay, so let's try this one more time. So we'll say Azure web app create MIC group CC MIC West US CC Node MIC. Okay. I think I had something missing from my last command. You guys know how spelling errors are. So looks like it went through that time. So it's actually created our web app now. Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and let's take a look at this. So we can say Azure web app list MIC group. Okay, we can see that is listing this web app. It's actually running. and ready for hosting. Okay. So from here, let's go ahead and let's go back to our app services. And inside our app services, let's click on CCMIC, and we'll go to our deployment options. And from here, we want to go ahead and we want to use this branch to go ahead and continuously build our production code. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a separate branch aside from master. Let's just go ahead and call this Azure. Okay, so now we have an Azure branch. Let's go ahead and target that one. So we can go ahead and we're going to choose GitHub for our source. From here, for our project, let's go ahead and pull up JS Deploy Kit. For the branch, let's just go ahead and select Azure, the one we just created. And then let's just go ahead and select OK for setting up our deployment source. Okay, so it looks like that was set up successfully. So now let's go ahead and let's go to our authorization. Okay, let's see here. Let's refresh this. Okay, perfect. So let's come back here. And okay, so it looks like everything was set up. So from here, let's just go ahead and yeah, let's view our application. Okay, I just had to double check, make sure everything was running. It doesn't look like any of these logs have hit yet. So let's go ahead and let's see if it's okay. So it's still not running. So let's just give it a minute, see if it comes up yet. But officially, folks, this is it. It's officially set up our application, and we are now ready to, view it on this live web address. However, with deployments, you should realize that there are several other people using Azure. So if Azure was to attempt to deploy everyone's application all at once, their platform would just crash. So they have somewhat of a queue system to where when you deploy your app, it might not always be available right away at the address. From my experience, it typically takes around 5 to 10 minutes. So, keeping that in mind, let's just go ahead and refresh, and let's see if it's deployed yet. And oh, there it goes. Okay, so as we can see now, it looks like everything has launched. So now if we go to our website here, oh, still not available. Okay, so we just need to wait a little bit longer, and hopefully this will be available soon. Okay, but we can be assured that this is up and running, and we have a successful deployment. So thanks again for attending today's lecture. I hope you enjoyed the material that was presented. If you have any questions, please, again, feel free to send those our way, and we'll be happy to help you out. Once again, we're going to be posting this recording on our Slack channel once we're done here, so you can view it later if you would like. Besides that, we'll catch you at the next lecture, and have a great rest of your day.